just a few minutes ago, there was Faith Mutsoli and a lady, especially their children. And I was touched. People are going through a lot of things, and now we are for the discussion of the day. A discussion of the day is self-awareness and sex education. I think that is not easy to discuss in African setup because of how we were brought up, how we were told that some things we should avoid until we call them tabia mbaya. Yeah, they are known to be tabia mbaya. So that's what we are going to discuss today, and it's already posted on the social media handles, that is at White54. We are asking, at what age should you tell our young ones, should we tell our young ones everything about sex, or everything about what people do, what most Africans do, taya kizimwa? At what age should we do it? I'm not alone here. I'm with professionals, those who are on the field doing it, really doing it hand-on, those who are hand-on. And there are two ladies being WCW Ladies Day. We have here two Arembos. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good, thank you.
Why are you all laughs? You're laughing at my introduction. Okay, this is Josephine and Jerop. I love your names. And now you're going to tell us more about you, starting with Jerop, everything about you.
Okay, we can't finish everything about me today, but my name is Jerop Limo. I work with Ambassadors for Youth and Adolescent Reproductive Health Program, an organization that works and advocates for integration of sexual reproductive health and services with the HIV services as well. So majorly, I am a youth advocate in the sexual reproductive health space. I am a leader in so many spaces as well, and I am a mentor for adolescent girls and young women at the community level.
Wow, you are one in many.
Yes.
Or many in one.
Many in one.
Okay, do you have social media handles?
Yes, I do have social media handles. Twitter, Jerop_Limo. And my organization's Twitter handle is IREP, AYARHEP_Kenya in capital on Twitter.
Oh, that's nice. Then we have Josephine. Josephine, how are you?
I am okay. How do I beat that introduction now? My name is Josephine Achieng Odhiambo, but I prefer Josephine Odhiambo. For some reason, I don't like my maiden name.
Look at you.
I work as a program assistant at Youth Changes Kenya, which is a community-based organization that works with young women, specifically young women and girls in rural and peri-urban settings. So we work with women in Kakamega, in Limuru. We work towards ensuring that they are aware of their sexual reproductive health and rights, and also they are aware of the referral pathways for sexual and gender-based violence. We also offer psychosocial support to those who've experienced violence. We do advocacy, policy advocacy, to ensure that the needs of young people are addressed at the policy level. So yeah, that's basically what I do. Our organization's handle on Twitter is YC_Kenya. On Facebook, it's Youth Changes Kenya. On Instagram, it's also Youth Changes Kenya. For me, Twitter, it's Josie254KE. Yes, I am also a leader in different spaces. Yes.
Wow. You guys are leaders.
we are leaders, even if we are leading our own lives.
I've never had such a professional panel. I don't know, this segment, specific segment is called Girls Talk. So I think we are in the best space for you because, and people watching, most of our audience are people of that age you've been mentioning about. So you are welcome to White54, and let's have this conversation now so that we demystify everything about what people should say, should feel about this sexual and sex thing. We were even skeptical if we should utter that word on air because of how we were brought up. I don't know what is bringing all these things. What do you think? It is very hard to talk about these things, yet people do them.
I think the main reason we don't talk about it is how we were brought up. You know, we have been brought up in an African setup where these conversations are taboo conversations to have, where these conversations are conversations that are had behind the curtains, you know, things people do, tai kizimwa, things people don't talk about. You're not allowed to mention your sexual organs, you know, and call them by name. It's just how we were brought up. it's sex and sex conversations and reproductive health conversations is a taboo. That is how we grew up. You know, the same way we see, you know, people in the Europe or in the Maju countries, you know, a mom telling you I love you and giving you a kiss on your cheek is normal. It's very normal.
It's normal there.
But for
But
us,
adults, yeah.
yeah, it's very weird actually. You know, so it's upbringing.
Josephine, the fact that now you work with these people who now like want to change things, do you call things by their names? Do you?
Yes.
You call things by their names?
So the idea is,
yes,
like she mentioned, we were raised to not mention this name. So we are trying to break that. So how we are breaking that is, if you're having a conversation about sex, we will have that conversation. And if we are speaking about reproductive organs, we will call a spade a spade. We will not sugarcoat. We will not call it the names we outside here, Dudu or whatever. No, we'll just call it with their names as they are. To just break down that barrier of the shame that comes with the conversation.
Let me ask you another thing. Do you feel that our question to the public is, at which age should we discuss these things with our young ones? Do you think that at the point where a child is learning to say mama, to say baba, to say my nose, to say my mouth, are you saying that they should also learn to call those other private parts with their names?
Yes.
That during that time?
Yes.
Is
if your child is speaking by 2 years, you need to have that conversation. And I think the reason why you're asking that question with your face looking kind of funny is because when we say that children need to be taught these things early, the first thing that comes to people's mind are, oh, how am I supposed to tell them about sex? No, just tell them these are your private parts, these are the names that they are there.
Yes.
You know, so that if maybe someone touches them in a certain way, they are aware and they come and tell you, by the way, so and so touched me here. You know, as opposed to them not knowing, they won't tell you because they don't know it's wrong. So just as long as they can talk and they can understand, just start that conversation.
Your opinion on this, Gerald?
It's actually very important. Whatever my colleague Josephine is saying is equally important. We've responded to cases in the community where a girl was molested and defiled, and she couldn't even explain herself. She didn't know what to say because nobody told her that this is what this is called. But someone touched her and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to say. But for her, nobody has ever told her that this is the name of this part and nobody should touch this part specifically. But this had gone on for a long time, and because the young girl wasn't aware of the parts and how they are called and what should happen, and that it is normal for them to actually be there and these changes to happen, then it creates a whole notion of confusion as well. So it's equally important that even a child, you know, children wanacheza huko nje, cha baba na cha mama, you know, and they touch each other and they do things and they're innocent, you know. But right now, molestation and sexual harassment is so common that if we don't teach our children about it, if we don't teach our children to call their body organs the way they are, then it will be a problem because they might be going through harassment for quite some time. But if they're not able to express themselves, then it becomes a barrier.
Don't you think you people want to turn people to be like animals? No, animals don't fear anything. They can do anything anywhere. They don't wear clothes. They're just there. They can do even those things. That they don't wait for the user to do it. Are you guys turning us to animals?
Not really. Not really. It is just making you aware. That is it. Nobody is giving you the liberty. The only liberty I'm giving you is by informing you and making sure you have the correct information.
Josephine, don't you think people, after knowing something, they want to experiment,
Not
especially children?
No,
Not necessarily.
because our experiences, because personally I was taught about comprehensive sexuality education when I was in high school. And we would have, so when you talk about, so this is where the problem comes in. It's not sex education, it's sexuality education. And sexuality encompasses a lot of things.
Oh.
Yes. So when you put it as sex education, it's like we're only speaking about sex. No, but there are other aspects as well.
Oh.
But the essence of us talking about these things is not to promote immorality the way it's been said out here, or to make people like animals the way you put it.
Yes.
But to just give people information, because based on the information I got in high school in terms of what sex is, how do you protect yourself from having from getting pregnant, in terms of decision making, self-esteem, all these things, I was able to decide right now maybe for me sex is not a priority, but in case I want to have it, there are these options of me not getting pregnant. So the essence of CSC is for you to have the information. Once you have all the information, you're able to weigh and to help you decide.
At what age did you have that information?
I started receiving information when I was in class 6.
Or 6?
Yes, and for me that
So
was late.
5 and below, you knew nothing.
I knew, I was hearing things. People were talking about things, and I didn't know what they were. So when I went and asking around, you know, when you hear certain things, you ask your friends. Your friends tell you a different version. You ask the teacher, the teacher. Hizo ni vitu za tumemba, those are adult things you're not supposed to be talking about. Home, I couldn't even ask a thing. So were it not for the people that came to school and spoken to us about all those things, I don't think I would be where I am now in terms of information.
Maybe you could have messed or something.
Exactly. Maybe I would have gotten pregnant in the middle of the way.
Do you have experience about that? At what age did you learn about the sexuality thing?
For me, it was different. I got into this space while I was still in high school.
High school?
Yes, high school. I started being a peer educator at a facility.
Okay.
So the role of a peer educator is to basically handle young people. You're trained, you're given information, just basic information, and then now you get to guide other young people as they come to the facility to receive services, you know, any sort of service. So I got information, and honestly at this point I sit and tell myself, if I didn't have this information, most likely I would have messed somewhere.
Okay.
Most likely.
So it's like some people have messed because they didn't have information.
Not necessarily, but information is power, right? Knowledge is power. You're sitting here because maybe you took a certain course and you're able to look at the camera and execute your shots and everything, and even whatever you speak verbally, because you had information, because you were taken to school. Same with us. Not that everyone who messes up, and nobody necessarily messes up in the SRHR space. We don't say people mess up. Things just happen.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
and
no messing
There's
up.
no messing up.
There's no
And the
messing
reason we are
up.
saying this information is important because I have a colleague and a friend who, she got pregnant I think at around 14 or 15. And when she got pregnant, for her, she knew yako na minyo. Her tummy is growing yenye anajua ni minyo. She
ni minyo
dewormed,
zimejaa
exactly.
tumbo.
She dewormed
Wow.
nothing. Until she went to the hospital, she was told, you're actually pregnant. She has no idea what pregnant means. She couldn't know how she got pregnant in the first place. Because alikuwa anasema, but I only had sex once. What do you mean I'm pregnant? Now you see. So we are trying to demystify certain things so that by the time you are deciding to have sex, you know what you're doing and you know the repercussion that comes with it. And you're able to see, am I able to take up the responsibility that comes in case I get pregnant? Am I able to do that? If I am not, then either I'll abstain or use a contraceptive.
Okay, now let's get to what we've asked the public. Now you're professionals because we've been to this for some time now.
Yeah.
At what age should we tell our young ones everything about this thing? I want to give you a typical example. I have a friend called Maurice, and she has a daughter called Paris. So Paris asked the mom where children come from, and the mom told her it's God who gives children. Yeah. So she went to church to pray to be given children. Yeah. She really wanted a child. So the
young child wanted a child?
Yeah. She
Okay.
prayed loudly that God give me a child. I want a child now. I don't want these toys. Don't talk back. They don't cry.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
They wanted real children. So somebody had her, and they just laughed. Just laughed at her. Nobody corrected her.
Yeah.
And after some time, she went to school, asked people, the older girls, about it, and they told her that it's got from sex. So she came back home and demanded that she be connected with somebody to do that with her so that she can get a child.
Okay.
This drives me to at what age, the way we ask the public, at what age should we tell our young ones everything about sexuality?
How old is Paris?
Then now she's about your age mates.
Okay.
But back then she was class 2 maybe. Lumu.
Okay. So we, you know, there was the question that Paris had asked. That is a very different, that is a very different child from another one who will just ask, where do children come from? Those are two different kids. This one, meaning by the time Paris is coming to ask the mom about where children come from, one, she's had things outside. She just wants to confirm from the parent to see if the parent will lie. The fact that the parent lied, akamwambia they come from God, gave the parents an opportunity to go ask outside. Let me go confirm if what mom said is actually true. So she went, asked outside. She was told how children are found. And then just to prove what the mom said, that children come from God, so innocent, she went and prayed. And those people laughed at her as opposed to correcting her. So by the time, so as parents, by the time your child is coming to you to ask you a question, it means one, they already know. Two, they are trusting you enough to ask you. And three, they want to see if you lie to them. So I think it's for parents, the child already had some level of information. So the conversation would be, for parents, the conversation would be, okay, what have you had? So the parents have sat down and asked, well, umesikia nini about when you're to talk?
Oh, that's the approach you should
Yeah,
be given.
yeah, exactly. Because it means she has some information. So the parents need to know, what does my child know? To what extent do they know? Because unaweza pata umempatia information, yeah, okay, you have sex and then you have a child, but then they don't even know what sex is. So I think it depends. It depends with one, the age. The age determines what information you give. For like 2-3 year olds, you just start with the private part. You start with good and bad touch, for example.
At what age you start about the private part?
2.
At 2 years old?
Yeah. Because they'll be, akienda kukojoa, atakuuliza, mom, because I know of a child who, they have a sibling, a man and a girl and a boy. And the girl was like, why is my nini different from Nani's nini? The mother froze.
Honestly, you don't know how to approach that one.
Like, how do you handle that?
You tell them you have different because you're a boy, you're a girl. You are a girl, that's why you have this. You're a boy, that's why you have this. So that way, by the time they're growing up, they know I'm a girl, and that's why my parts are different from the other person. So it depends, one, with the age of the child and what they already know. I think that's what I would say.
I have a cousin called Lucy. She grew up with us. We were mostly boys. She was the only girl. And she refused to be called a girl. Like, if you called her girl, that was an insult. Until her nickname became Lucy the Boy. Lucy the Boy, because she was feeling she was different. I don't know what comes, especially when people feel that some gender is not their gender because there is a dominant gender about this.
It wouldn't be necessarily because there's a dominant gender with the setup you grow in. It will be even emotionally and physically, and how you feel you should relate. Like, for others it will be, I've grown up in a household full of boys, we relate this way, we dress this way, and I feel like this is cool, this is what fits me, and I'm comfortable with that, and I don't see anything wrong with that. For others it will be, body-wise, biology, the aspect of hormones, and how inside I feel like, I don't want to be a girl. No, I shouldn't behave like a girl. No, I'm not a girl. Because it's how I feel and how I feel I should be treated and how I should relate and how people should perceive me as well. So it's not necessarily because of a dominant gender that you grow up in. It could be because of various reasons that people decide to be who they want to be.
Jerob, children as young as 3 years old play chamama, and they play it real. The only thing that they don't do is hiding. They can do it in open, or veranda, kila mtu akiona. Where do they know this? Where do they know that things are done this way?
It's watching. It's talking about it. It's listening. Children are the most curious people. If you look at kids, the way they behave, they're the most curious people, and they will want to see where this ends. they will touch oil, atajipaka, mama ananipakanga hii mafuta.
Hadi apake ile ya kutoa tint.
Yote. You know, and it's innocently, because children are generally curious.
Yes.
You know, so they will see TV. Those people are kissing. I saw that. Ooh. You know, my mom and my dad behave this way. I saw that. And that's why Josephine has kept on insisting that even with comprehensive sexuality education, there is the aspect of age appropriate. There is a reason a child in play group is doing play group, and one in baby class is doing ABCD, and why someone in Form 4 is doing, you know, chemistry and you know, algebra and all these things, because it's in a progress. Your brain, what the brain of the child is able to handle, that is where you start from.
Joy calls it monkey see, monkey do.
So you start as in from the least thing. This is my eyes, this is my nose, this is my mouth, this is my, you
my
know.
only problem, Jerome, is that she will call it loudly where people are, where adults are. Maybe it's itching, and then a shout to, hey, na itch.
It's true, it is itching. Why are you trying to
shatter the child?
It is itching. That's why I said it is itching.
The child will cry if they want to cry and talk about it. The thing is, the crossing line is, if you don't tell your child, you've given us an example, if you don't tell your child, someone else will tell them, and trust you me, they will tell them the wrong thing.
Oh. So amna shida mtoto akita private part with his real name in crowd, maybe in church or maybe in a committee where you are, na seme ya shout you kitu hakuna ibu maybe anataka kushushu ama aiite tu kwa jina hivi.
Obviously I don't think they would do that.
They would do that unless they have to, like for example, like umesema kama anajisikia kujikuna, sasa atakwambia mom nasikia kujikuna place, like you told them, you know, as opposed to afadhali wao anasema anataka kujikuna hapo, as opposed to ule mwenye anataka kujikuna but amenyamaza. You know, who mwenye amesema amejikuna, maybe you will go with them to the washroom and find out what is actually happening, and maybe they have an infection, you'll be able to see. Na who mwenye amenyamaza anaumia, amenyamaza because you've not had that conversation with them. Amenyamaza, anaumia. By the time you're knowing what is actually happening, the child has suffered really a lot.
Let's now talk about what teachers should do. At what level should we introduce this particular unit to the children in school?
Allow me to tell you that the youngest mom we have in Kenya is 9 years old.
9 years old.
9?
The 9 years old. That is the youngest mom. Yes.
Oh.
9 years old.
Hey.
That clearly states, you know, since the pandemic and even before the pandemic, we have been dealing with very high numbers and cases of teenage pregnancies from as in the least stage is 9. So you can imagine how dire this information is. Enda tu kwa mtaa, listen to these young children talk. Listen to them talk. Msiste, unakaa fiti. You know, that tells you that these kids are actually exposed. They know more than you. Honestly, I can tell you, I can bring you a 15-year-old who will talk to you. You won't even believe what they're saying. So that brings the need for teachers to as well have these conversations, even from tunaanza kusoma science class 6, tunaanza kusoma reproductive health in class 6, right? So that tells you from class 6 upwards, you know, and even from below class 4, class 5, you start the introductory part. This is my sexual organs, this is how it operates, this is how it develops, this is what should not be done, this is what should be done. Because if you leave it out, a girl will go anakatiwa, amefurahi, she's happy, innocently and full of naive. And this young man also is not really informed, but yeye anataka kufit in, yeye anataka kuko, mabishte zangu wanakatiana,
mimi pia niko na
madem. So nani mtoi. But innocently, it's because they don't know and they don't have someone to actually tell them, okay, fine, you have a girlfriend, but this and these are the lines you shouldn't cross, or this is how you should go about it. Because we say, don't tell me not to do Don't tell a child not to do. They will be rebellious.
They'll do it.
They'll do it actually.
You should tell them, convince them with the reason.
The reasons,
why,
exactly.
what should be done at what time.
At what time, and this is not right and this is right. Bring them together and talk to them, because most of them, they rely on TV, Google, wale cool boys wenye wako kwa mtaa, social media as well. We are a social media generation, you know. So if they don't have access to correct information, University of Google will mislead them.
Do you think we are not giving? Do you think schools are giving enough currently in Kenya?
So currently there is the CBC curriculum, and I was privileged enough to review playgroup PP1 to PP1 to PP3, the curriculum that was there when it was being created. And some of the things that are there, they are speaking about hygiene, how to brush your teeth, how to shower, how to clean yourself, brush your shoes, your hair, which is good. Those are important things to have. But then also it's not very comprehensive, because in as much as yes, they are saying it's there, it's not necessarily there. Because if you ask, they tell you, but we have life skills. But then most of the time, as a life skill, wanaenda PE, wanafunzwa mau, it's not really there. Or the information they are being given, it's very shallow. And then if you ask, because I remember when we would ask questions about, someone would ask, teacher, na sex ni nini? And then the teacher would be like, sex, hiyo ni ya watu wakubwa. And the teacher has left it, imeisha hivyo. Amesema ni watu wakubwa, imeisha hivyo. They won't have the conversation again. So I think the information is not very the information being given in school is not comprehensive at all. Some schools don't even give it at all. And yet, they'll still be there asking, why are people getting pregnant? Where are we going wrong? But the issue is, you're not giving this full information. Because some will tell you, like if you speak to girls who've gotten pregnant at the community, tutakwambia nyewe Josie, mi hata siku anajua sex ni nini. Nilisikia tu sex kama wanafanya hivi, pia mimi nikamua, siku anataka kwa left out kamua, hata pia mimi nifanye. And then akapata kona ball. Others anasema, mi hata siku anajua niko na ball. Mimi nilikuwa na tumbo ina grow, the casing point yenye nilipeana before. Like they don't know. Others genuinely don't know. And then when they get pregnant, that's when they start being told, oh, when uko na tabia mbaya, you are immoral. But then they genuinely had no information at all. Hawako wanajua. And because if we say they're given at the school level, the ministry is a bit skeptical about it. They don't want it to be given at the school. So these people are left, because if you tell them, the school is saying, but they're with their parents. Parents are supposed to provide this information. Parents wanasema, no, the church are the one that's supposed to guide our kids. So this young person anarushwa school, home, church. School, home, church. In the middle of all these things, si akona beshti. Atapatwa the wrong information, and then we all know the results.
You are reviewing that curriculum.
Yeah.
Why didn't you add? Why didn't you add that particular?
The only thing we can do during the review of government documents, the only thing you can do is give recommendations. It's up to them whether they take it or not.
Also recommended.
We recommend all these things we are saying here.
But they didn't include it. Any deliberate efforts you are doing as an organization to maybe increase the information on what our children are given in school pertaining the sexuality education?
This is one of the deliberate actions. Just holding open conversations about it. We realized for quite some time that we had been, advocating and pushing for comprehensive sexuality education to be included in our curriculum, while leaving the community and the parents and the caregivers outside of it, because they are the ones who get to talk to these young people. They're the ones who live with these young people. So right now, one of our major concentration is creating awareness on comprehensive sexuality education, having engagements with guardians and community. Unajua, unauliza mama, mbona hukumwambia? Anasema, sasa nitaongelelea aje, nitaanzia aje. But just sitting down with guardians and parents and women and men at the community level and telling them, by the way, this is what we have. This we think will help your young people in school, and just getting a buy-in from them. That is one of the major things we've been doing. We've been also having engagements with policy makers and policy implementers as well. Like Josephine said, we have been really pushing and holding social media engagements and partnering with organizations as well who work in this space as well. Honestly, it's still a major barrier, with the church being a major hindrance as well.
You calling church being a major hindrance?
Yes, the church is a major hindrance. Not necessarily that the church is wrong.
Yes.
But the church think that when we allow comprehensive sexuality to be taught in school, we will be exposing our young people to sex information. We'll be giving them permission to go out there and have sex, but which is not the case. The case is we are giving them information so that akiamka anasema nenda kwa boyfriend yake, atakuwa able to decide, by the way, Josephine alinifunza, teacher aliniambia this and this is how I should go about this, so let me hold on. That young man will say, by the way, kuna stories za condom, teacher alinifunza. It is not a must. I can wait. Sex is not going anywhere. So it's just the church is a bit skeptical, the same way the Ministry of Education is, and it's create a lot of barriers. But we are trying to help them see how important CSC is to our children.
And to add on what Jerop is speaking about, in 2013, the Ministry of Education and Health and the Ministry of Health signed a commitment, the Eastern and Southern African Commitment. In this commitment, they were to, one, and I quote, reduce teenage pregnancy, reduce the spread of HIV infections amongst young people, and also to reduce sexual gender-based violence. And unfortunately, none has been done. Because if you look at the data last year, almost 13,000 girls dropped out of school because of teenage pregnancy. So it means little effort is being put into ensuring that teenage pregnancy is being eradicated. And she'll speak on HIV as well. And also sexual gender-based violence. We've seen on TV, guys are getting raped left, right, and center. People are murdering each other. Yani, all these stories, they're happening, and it's shameful that nothing is being done, sort of like, or the efforts being put in place are not necessarily working. And in this commitment, yes, the commitment elapsed last year, because it was supposed to elapse last year. And if we were reviewing to just gauge what was being done, and unfortunately little or less had been done, because bado tuko na teenage pregnancy, bado hizi issues ziko kwa community. So we are trying to push the government, the Ministry of Education and Health, to recommit, when they were signing commitment tena, so that they are able to work towards achieving the goals that they did not achieve.
Don't you think there are just ways in which they can be included in the policy, generally maybe from the legislation arm of our government, so that you just push them through our representatives? Because I think that's where policies are made, the parliament and all that. You can petition the parliament to maybe legislate something on that, or maybe talk to one of the representatives to move a motion about it, because people are not understanding. Like now, since we started this conversation, I understand it better than I used to do it. Even when I was doing research for this show, I was still like, these people are going to spoil our children, how are going to do it? But now I understand it better. Don't you think there's just a way you can maybe push for legislation or some sort about the inclusion of these materials in the education material?
So we do have policies and guidelines that speak to the provision of this information in school. But the issue is implementation. That's our major problem. Because in terms of bills, there was the reproductive health care bill that we had worked on for a very long time. And then when it got to parliament, the conversation shifted from it being reproductive health care bill to being an abortion bill. And that is how our bill was put on hold. So you see, we are trying so hard to push for the well-being and to push for policies to be implemented and to be developed, but then it becomes really hard on our end when all our efforts sort of like don't bear fruit, or when they'll develop the policy, yes, but then they won't allocate resources for the implementation of this policy. So that's actually our major challenge. We do have policies in place, but the issue is implementation of this particular policy. Case in point, the ESA commitment that I was speaking about.
Jerop, do you, I'm trying to figure out what exactly you guys want. You want sexuality education to be like part of curriculum, to an extent that it is examinable, like it's one of the subjects in school, so that it will be examined at the end of the term or something?
Actually, yes, that is the idea. But remember, it must be age appropriate. Again, I have said a child in class 6 does not have the brain to understand what a person in Form 4 is learning. So age appropriate. The same way in class 6 we talk about now just the outer part. You know, this is this part, this is this part, this is how it works. And then when you get to Form 4, you're actually learning about the reproductive health itself, which is not necessarily comprehensive. So it is just about allowing our kids to actually access this information in school. Wakwe aware. Wakwe aware. I mean, in this day and age, nobody should get pregnant and think that I have worms. We're in 2021. You get, nobody should be told by the boyfriend that if you have sex one time and you go and wash yourself, you won't get pregnant. Nobody should be told that if we have sex standing, you won't get pregnant. But imagine that is what our young girls are being told. That is how our young boys are being sodomized.
From your experience, that's what they know?
Yes, that is what they know. That is how our boys are being sodomized and harassed, simply because they don't have information and they don't know how to go about it. Now obviously ni kitu shameful, hatufai kuiongelelea, and you will be blamed for putting yourself in that situation to even make matters worse.
Do you entirely blame this on the lack of information, or don't you think there are other factors? Is the information now the only thing, according to you?
I think the major thing is information, because and this is based on the conversation we've had with the young people. Because there was a time we were having a discussion with young people in Kakamega, with young women, and we were asking, what are the things you've been told that if you have sex and then you will get pregnant, like Jerop said. And one said, if I have sex, nikunywe coke, ama nijoshe na ndimu, nikupoa, I won't get pregnant. Or if I have sex kwa bush, I won't get pregnant. Now you see, by the time we are telling them that all these things are lies, they are myths, they were actually very shocked and very surprised. Because that is the narrative when we grow up wakiambiwa. So the fact that we told them and they are able to tell other people, because we've had instances where some are calling and saying, calling you and telling you, Josephine, thank you. Thank you for the information you gave. The information you gave imenisaidia, and I'm able to help other people. So information is very, very important, and then we need to complement information and services. So when you give this information, and in case a young person needs a service, you provide that. So information will go a very long way in curbing the issues that we have. So it's the first step towards reducing all these issues that we're experiencing in terms of reproductive health.
But again, somebody thinks that this education is encouraging teenage pregnancy.
How?
That you are telling somebody how to do something, so he will just be going to do it. He will just be going to do it because you've told him how to do. Those are the myths now around the sex education.
Exactly.
Tell me how you do debunk this.
How we debunk it is when somebody, because we've had conversation where, but if you tell them, they will want to experience it. And based on the we've been speaking to a lot of young people, and none of this has happened. Because usually what happens, the approach also matters. If you come and tell me, Josephine, do not have sex, who is Josephine for you? I will go have to just prove to that I had and nothing happened. But if you tell me sex is there, you can have sex, but if you have sex, remember, there's pregnancies, there's HIV infection, there's STIs. So by the time nimefikiria ku have sex, I'm like, okay, so if I have this sex and I get pregnant, can I able to take care of this child? No, I won't able to take care of this child. So the alternative is, if I cannot abstain but I want to have sex, what's the alternative? The alternative is, there's condoms, there's other forms of contraceptive. So you see, they are able to weigh. Because most of the time, I received the information in high school, and honestly, after I received the information, I did not go and try sex and see what they are saying is working. No, I was able to weigh and decide, and this also applied to the people that we were taught with, all of us. We are able to, so CSC just enables you to weigh and helps you to make an informed choice based on the correct information that you have.
From this discourse, I deduced that the problem, according to you, is culture and religion, if I'm not wrong. Like, this how we are grown up. Somebody is saying that you are taking us to the West. Yes, that we are at the West, and we should not, we have our cultures to retain. So talking sex with children and with teenagers is a West thing, it's not an African thing. That is culture. Don't you think you guys are eroding us, are making us watumbo?
Honestly, no, I don't think I'm eroding anyone. Because if we didn't have teenage pregnancies, if we didn't have how do I put it? Young people who are married, who are even below 18, you know, and it's also a barrier of ensuring that our children grow to fully finish their school, you know, explore other avenues, find something and make something out of their lives, rather than I'm just giving an example, because not necessarily that religion and is a major barrier, but also poverty and our lifestyle as well. Nime grow up Mathare, si ndio? Hakuna information, mama kuangi, dada kuangi as well. So John amenikatia, tuko class 8. John ameniambia, you love me, fine. We have sex. I get pregnant. I can't stay at home. So Mimi and John decide to take our single house there and we start a life. And it becomes a cycle. It becomes a cycle where as a young couple, we are rooted here. We didn't finish school, hakuna job, hakuna do. What do? We are limited to this location and to this environment and to this lifestyle as well. So it's not necessarily taking us to the Western, but just also allowing our young people to access information so that we are able to make decisions. Poor. We are trying also to modernize and to do away with some cultures which are not right, like child marriages, genital mutilation as well. These are cultures that we are trying to end. It's not necessarily that saying a child shouldn't be married is a Western thing. No, it is wrong. It is wrong to marry a child. This is a child. You're putting them in situations that they shouldn't be in, physically, mentally, spiritually, and even sexually as well. So it's wrong. You are doing FGM. Why are you doing FGM at this era? It's not necessarily Westernization. So comprehensive sexuality education is not about how to have sex. It's not about how to have sex.
That's what people think.
That is what people think. It is about, these are my organs, this is what should be done, this shouldn't be done. Someone should not touch me. If they touch me, that is sexual harassment. I can go to the police station and report. If I am raped, I know, don't wash your clothes, don't shower, rush to the health center, get your P form and do this. As in, it is just empowering a young person on what to do, how to approach life even as you grow up, how to make assertive decision. The lady was saying, she was talking about marriage, and she was talking about violence and what to do. It is also about empowering our young people not to be in a relationship where there is intimate violence, because it's common right now. We're waking up, people have killed each other, people have murdered very young potential people, and why? Because this young woman or this young man hakukuwa na information ajue, by the way we can sit down and talk to solve the issue. By the way, kama utakiball kuna contraceptives, so hakutakuwa na option ya hakutakuwa na reason ya upate ball and then ikuwe story and then tupigane and then tukosane, ama you have to do an unsafe abortion.
But church teaches abstinence. Most religious organizations teach abstinence and abstinence alone. Should not talk about other things. Don't you think this is where you are clashing with the church?
So I think we're not necessarily clashing. What I would say is, honestly, if abstinence was working, we would not be having teenage pregnancies. Let's just be honest. If abstinence was actually working, we would not be having these teenage pregnancies that we are seeing. And in the time we agree, it is not. Yet it may work for Josephine and Jerome. It may not work for other people outside. So how about to give people options? There's abstinence, but then for those who cannot abstain, this is the other option. So CSE is a holistic conversation. It's conversation about how parents need to communicate with their kids. It's conversations about what role the government plays in ensuring we are well. It's conversations about self-esteem, how you make decisions, what do you need to look at. It's a holistic thing. It's not necessarily focused on sex alone, but there are other aspects as well. I think that's where a lot of people misinterpret it. It's not, I want to say categorically, sexuality education is not only about sex. There are other things that are being talked about, not necessarily sex.
There are people, finally, because the time is really on us, there are people ladies who had been abused, maybe even by relatives. They didn't say it because it was a taboo to say something like that. And they grow up maybe hating men or hating anything about the sexuality and everything, because they could not say it, they were abused, they didn't like it, and they could not say it, and all that. What are the things that you are trying to disambiguate so that things become normal, so that it is easy to say when you are abused and all that.
Yes, I mean, there is a reason why the Constitution says it is defilement, it is rape, and you will be jailed for a number of years because it is wrong. But we have been raised in a space where I am raped by a relative, I am threatened and I'm told, usiongelele, usiongelele, hiyo tutasolve tu hapa. Leta ng'ombe mbili, imeisha. No, but because that has done damage to me. And that's why we are raising a generation of young people who are mentally damaged because they've gone through sexual harassment, even by house helps. We've seen these cases on the TV and we continue to see them. So we are allowing our young people, nikifanywa hivi, nikishikwa hivi, nikifanywa hivi, so that you don't keep quiet and it becomes normal. You know, they've been molested by their parents for years, ever since a child.
I wish we had the whole day here just to discuss it. It's really interesting. But you sound like you talk this to girls more than boys. Aren't you discriminating against boys?
We are not discriminating against the boy child. It's just that women are more vulnerable as opposed to men. Because when talking about teenage pregnancy, it's the woman's life that will mostly be affected. So that's why the conversation is mostly around women. But then we are very cognizant about male engagement, which is very, very important. So yeah.
Yeah, Jerop, this camera. Tell us final word on what you want the public to know, especially from your forte.
I think the most important thing, especially for the young people watching, is before you only live once, you know, before you do that.
Before you YOLO.
Before you YOLO. Please always remember that your choices have consequences. If you really have to have sex, again, we are also pushing for abstinence. If you really have to, please remember the avenues that you can use to prevent pregnancies, HIV and STIs. And some of these things are very serious. There's no reversal. There's no reversal at all. So make sure you make the right choices. Remember to follow us as well for access of information from our pages, because we talk about this, we teach young people as well, and we would love to actually ensure that you young people have access to comprehensive information on sexual reproductive health and rights as well.
Thank you. Jose, address the nation.
My address goes to, as always, the CS Magoha. My address is to you. It would be great if you could recommit to signing the Eastern and Southern African Commitment to ensure that we reduce the cases of sexual gender-based violence in our country, we reduce the levels of teenage pregnancy, and to also reduce the levels of new HIV infections. So you signing that commitment will go a long way in ensuring that the reproductive health rights and needs of our young people are catered for.
Today was education. We've learned so much. Personally, I've learned things that I have gone through the education system, but I've never been told. I wish I knew this before I was young. There are things that I could have maybe helped people to know better now that I'm in this position where I talk to people almost daily. But information is power. So if you know, you will decide. So you'll make informed decision. This has been good, and I think we'll have more conversation about this now that now that we know each other. I think we will organize so that we have more about this. Yeah, this is Why in the Morning, and thank you for tuning in. Up next, we are coming back to maybe see your comments with Faith Mutsoli. Keep it locked.